Well, good morning, good afternoon, Roberta Baskin. I am so excited about this conversation, and I just want to brag on you for a little bit before we start. Um,
Yeah.
you are a Wonder Woman in the investigative journalistic world. You've won over 75 awards internationally. You have been involved in some of the biggest stories over the years. You've worked with Bill Moyer, 2020, 48 Hours. I have no idea how many others. You are one of the most committed and active people I have ever met around climate, around the sustainable development goals, and the organizations that you've committed your time to aim to flourish at Case Western Reserve. Oh my
Stop,
gosh,
stop, stop.
images, voices of hope,
Let's
the
just say I've
carbon.
had a lot of fun.
Wow. And, one of the big stories going all the way back, oh gosh, almost 30 years, your story, you helped break the Nike story. And now
Oh,
you are one of the founding Magnolias. And we are
with
so
so much gratitude in my heart for you. Thank you, Darcy, for that invitation because I've loved every moment of this.
uh, what keeps you so motivated? What drives you? And now why so much of your time dedicated to women and women's leadership?
It's the moment that is, I think, calling to all of us. It's been, I started out in a world, because I'm old now. I would say, this is such a crazy thing, but like back in the 60s, there was a Pan Am flight from New York to Chicago that was for men only. And the so-called flight attendants back then, stewardesses, excuse me, who were fired if they got married, they were expected to serve steaks and cigars to the guys on the plane. I mean, this is in our lifetime. And so things have changed radically, but they need a lot more changing. And women's leadership is sort of a call of the time. I mean, the fact that only 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women is ridiculous. And companies who are at the top of the heap in terms of gender diversity are more likely to outperform their competition. And so let's get with the program here. We are finally getting a woman vice president to lead our country and a woman of color. Yay. But there's a lot of work to be done. So my sleeves are rolled up for this, and anything that we can do, speaking for myself as an old woman at this point, I've been around for a while in terms of promoting girls' leadership and helping to empower them and step into their power and give them confidence for the potential that they have, is going to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And you have been such a young-hearted role model that, we can step into this work with joy, with positivity, with hope, with commitment. And I know you are all about collaboration. Why is that so important?
It's my favorite thing these days. I think about the old paradigm of competition and my own role in that, being super competitive. I mean, I would have my pointy elbows out and get out of my way. I mean, if I was in terms of, running a nonprofit, everybody else step aside, give the money to me. But if you think about what's really, a more efficient model, collaboration is where we look to each other, where we have a like-minded interest and mission and vision. And why do we, all need to have, the HR department and all of the things that go into fundraising, and why not work together? And so for me, collaboration is the new model that is needed in terms of finding each other and uplifting each other. and showcasing each other's work, because we're all in this together.
That's right. That's right. And, in the Magnolias, we talk about, how we show up in the areas that are really important to us, certainly the climate crisis and reversing climate change, really accelerating our work in collaboration to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And now addressing the long overdue equity and justice that we need to expand to once and for all get rid of systemic racism. But we do that through the divine feminine and bringing a different consciousness to this work. How do you see that happening? Why is this so different from maybe the type of leadership we've all experienced in the past?
Well, that's a beautiful way to reflect on it. And, I'm pretty obsessed with the Sustainable Development Goals. I started this thing called Aim to Flourish, where we actually adopted the Sustainable Development Goals for the platform even before the UN, all of the nation states unanimously adopted them. Just looking at them when they were, in the ether as something that was going to be voted on, we realized that this is really what the world needs now. This is what we need to achieve by 2030. And so the idea of Aim to Flourish was to teach the Sustainable Development Goals to the next global leaders, women and men in business schools around the world, and to ask them to find an example of a company that was doing something remarkable to help achieve one of the global goals. And so and we now have 3,000 stories, by the way, written by business school students in more than 100 countries. Yeah. But I look at the SDGs really, when I think about them as in the wholeness of them, that they're really all about climate justice. Even though it's called, Goal 13 is called climate action. And Goal 5 is gender equality, and Goal 10 is reduced inequalities. Both of them really thinking about gender. I think it's interesting that there are 2 goals devoted to that. But gender equality and reduced inequalities and all of the other beautiful goals in terms of health and economics and the planet and the oceans, it still really comes down to climate, for me, that they're all a reflection of climate. And if you think about Goal 17 as partnerships for the goals, they're all interrelated. And in the next 10 years, if we don't get our act together in terms of climate justice, and of course, the people who are economically deprived around the world are the ones who are going to be most impacted. I mean, the fact is that climate refugees that's going to impact hundreds of millions of people. It's already affecting in terms of the global south and people moving north.
And we know what the are women.
Yes, women exactly. Thank you. That's right. And so if we don't come up with the solutions that we know are there, we know what the solutions are, we just need to adopt them with urgency. And the fact that America fell off the Paris Agreement is an embarrassment for our country, but we're back in, and it's important because although mankind has divided up the world into these artificial boundaries, this is our home for all humans and living creatures, and we need to collaborate together for the solutions that we know are there.
So talk about your work around COP26. I mean, you've been involved in these meetings for a long time.
Well, I'm actually just warming up on it. So I'm really excited about it because it's going to be very artistic. I mean, it's going to be about education for the planet. And for the people, the leadership and indigenous people who are going to be there. There's going to be music. It's going to be a festival in many ways, but also showcasing the solutions that work and getting the climate getting the climate leaders and also the policy leaders together to do what's right for the planet. So one of the things I'm excited about is this idea of projecting on buildings, beautiful imagery. And there's a lot of peddling beneath the surface right now to get it to come together. But I'm eager really just as a point of collaboration, being someone who sees like this person needs to talk to that person and magic will happen. And I sure hope to be there because, it's been a weird year of not traveling. Not that I'm complaining about staying put. It's been an interesting time for reflection.
In the Magnolias, our vision and what we'll be launching in 2021 is bringing in the voice of other women leaders from around the world, regardless of title, who are really taking action to bring their voices in, to inspire others, to cross-pollinate ideas, to create new relationships so that we can, again, collectively accelerate our work towards these goals. And you have got such a network of incredible women. What excites
all of the
you
Magnolias do. All
Yes.
of them do. I mean, I learn, this experience has touched my heart and my head in terms of learning from each other. And we all are on the same mission and with different ideas and opportunities and a lot of self-growth. So I've loved it. And looking forward to I think it's so important to bring in these other women voices who are doing amazing things to create the world that we all want. And so I'm looking ahead at 2021 as a kind of collaboratory with the Magnolias. And eager to jump into the deep end for it.
So if you had one wish or challenge for women and girls, teen girls, they are getting involved as well. What would be your one wish or challenge or hope for 2021?
I'd like to see more young, I'm really excited about cross-generation collaboration, but I really want to support young people to step into their power. And I want to see more young women run for office. It's time. And I kind of look to Rwanda as a model. Rwanda is the place on the planet that has the most women's leadership in their parliament and on the bench in terms of judges. It's really amazing. And they designed it in a way that, again, it's not about the competition. It's about the women leaders bringing in the youth, these sort of circles of leadership, wider and wider circles to educate young girls back in their villages to step into their power. And I think that we all need to do everything that we can to help young girls recognize the important role that they play in designing, co-creating the future. Basically, we need to save the planet and save all living things. Not save the planet, that's wrong, because the planet, she will be here. We won't be here if we don't get our act together.
Amen.
Hey, women.
Yes.